Suddenly disaster struck the earth as countless powerful monsters, dubbed calamities, appear and destroy cities all around the world. The government resorted to using nuclear weapons against them. However, even they proved to be ineffective. As the humans have lost all glimmer of hope, the 12 saints arrive, who have received the power of 12 divine gods. However, one man, Li Zhiyou, awakened without the god's power. Furthermore, he is more powerful than all the other saints. One day as all the saints fight against the worst calamity, Crimson Eye, Li Zhiyou is backstabbed and thrown into a trap. As he lies there, unable to move, Li Zhiyou decides to keep fighting, claiming that he will not die until he takes his revenge on the ones who have wronged him. The story begins inside of a restaurant, where Hugo Otter, the Sagittarius Saint, is having a meal with Li Zhiyou, the 13th awakened. There, Hugo tells Jin that he might die tomorrow. However, Li Zhiyou jokes around, looking unconcerned as he claims that he alone has killed more calamities than the 12 saints combined. As such, he would not die. Jin then also revealed that at the Demon Tower, where the most fearsome calamity resides, will be their destination. He also adds at the end of the 20th century, calamities appeared all over the world, and consequently drove mankind into a corner. As they finally go to Demon Tower, the other saints are seen to be greedy and only care about money. As they enter and make their way to the boss, Crimson Eye, he proves to be far too powerful. As the other saints run after witnessing Crimson Eye's power, Li Zhiyou goes to attack, but gets stabbed and thrown into a special trap, which creates infinite calamites. Nonetheless, Jin doesn't give up and keeps attacking for the next 20 years, until he finally reaches the last remaining calamity, and defeats it before collapsing on the ground. Meanwhile, back in the real world, two workers are being chased by some high-ranking calamities. As they are about to meet their creator, Jin appears out of nowhere, ready to take his revenge on the saints who had left him to rot. The workers are astonished after seeing Jin, who emerges after defeating the calamities that chase them, but get terrified as the boss appears behind Jin. As the boss attacks, the workers await their incoming death, but are shocked to find themselves still alive as Jin protects them. He then attacks the boss back, defeating it in one punch. As thanks, the workers treat Jin to some food, where he eats 120 portions alone. There, Jin also finds that his body has completely recovered. Upon further notice, he finds a mark on his left hand, and learns that his previous body had died. However, his soul has been put into another vessel. Furthermore, all the memories and skills of his past life are passed on. Nonetheless, he still only craves revenge against the saints. Meanwhile, back where Jin appeared, investigators discuss who would be responsible for defeating such calamities, contemplating if Jin managed to survive, as only he is powerful enough to do such a task. On the other hand, the news of the high-ranking calamities being defeated spread far and wide. As such, Yang Wei, the Aries Saint, is questioned about the incident. However, he has no comment. Later, he is also seen to worry if Jin really did survive and brought down these beasts. On the flip side, Hugo Otters has now made it big and is now an influential VIP. He arrives in England for a meeting with the Prime Minister, however gets annoyed at the many calls he keeps getting. Suddenly, he also revives a call from the Prime Minister, who informs him that the South Korean government has informed him that Li Zhiyou's cell phone was just found active. As such, he then hears the voice notes left on his phone, finding out that it was Jin all along who was calling him. Consequently, he then rushes back to the airport, postponing his business in England. Back to Li Zhiyou, who learns that 20 years have passed in the real world. He also uses a smartphone for the first time, only to see that the 12 saints took credit for defeating Crimson Eye. He also learns that his will to donate all his belongings to charities and people in need was ignored, and his possessions were given to the 12 saints instead. Suddenly, he is also confronted by a household god of Aries, a subordinate of the Aries divine god. As he meets with it outside, he also runs into a gangster couple of Gemini group, who are Rankers and Mokjin. As such, Jin then calls them cockroaches and picks a fight. He easily defeats the man who mocked him, however, learns that he carried a divine artifact that only the saints carried back in his time. As such, one of the workers, Han Jimin, explains as only 12 people were unable to protect the entire world. The saints created groups of people who followed them, called divine cotters. He also explains the power dynamic, stating the saints to be the strangest, then the 10 stars considered to be saint candidates, then the cotters captains which manage the cotters, and then the cotters themselves, who further divide into power classes. Suddenly, the household gods want to be entertained further, telling Jin to finish of the couple as they wanted to see some blood. However, Li Zhiyou blasts them all away, as it is revealed opposing the household gods was akin to opposing a real god. After this, he then proceeds to steal everything off the man he just fought and defeated, claiming that the looting times are the best. Soon, Jin decides to mooch off Jimin, who hesitantly agrees to let him stay over at his house. There, he also cuts his hair, receiving compliment from Jimin, making Jin blush. Furthermore, he notices that many small and low-rank calamities were present in Jimin's house. Upon investigation, he finds that there are many evil artifacts, which he was gifted them by the Gemini group, as he is also a Cotters present, which attract calamities. Suddenly, a red-haired guy, introduced as Jin Sung-yi, walks in the house, claiming that he was the owner of this house and is enraged after seeing the mess Jin created. On the other hand, Young Wai receives news about the household gods who have disappeared in Korea. He also hears that Hugo is on his way there, which makes him worried about what is going on. As such, he decides to head there to see the situation with his own eyes. Meanwhile, the Gemini a ranker Jin almost killed earlier is at the hospital, where grandfather is angry after seeing his grandson in this condition. However, Min Sung-hoon, an S-rank Gemini Cotter, tells him to calm down, as he was dispatched to take care of this matter. On the other hand, Jimin tries to explain to Sung-yi how he meets Jin. However, he doesn't believe him. Furthermore, he becomes enraged after Jin introduces himself as Li Zhiyou and starts to cause a commotion. Furthermore, he, revealed to be a rank Gemini Cotter, tries to attack Jin. However, gets his shit rocked by Jin, who uses one finger to unleash an attack, sending Sung-yi flying. It's also revealed that Sung-yi is a major Li Zhiyou fanatic and has many figures of him, but Jin breaks them all, claiming they made him uncomfortable. Meanwhile, Hugo has made it into Korea and learns the incident Jin caused yesterday. As he sits in a cafe, Young Wai contacts him by taking possessions of a waitress to mess with Hugo. Later, Jimin and Sung-yi go to the grocery store and discuss if Jin really could be Li Zhiyou. However, a thief enters the store and steals all the wallets of the people there. Fortunately, he is stopped by Jin, who came to tell Jimin to buy some chicken. Nonetheless, after seeing an opportunity to run, the thief tries to get away, but a calamity happens to enter the store. The calamity is revealed to be the Spider Queen, a red-rank calamity, who eats the thief whole. Nonetheless, Li Zhiyou stands up to the Spider Queen, trying to save the civilians present. On the other hand, Young Wai receives the news of Spider Queen, which him and his followers could not defeat in their previous raid, had appeared in the store. However, as he is incapable of facing a red rank alone, he decides to bury the entire building as to not let his reputation become more tattered. Meanwhile, back at the store, Min Sung-hoon is also present there and tries to use his exceptional powers in order to stop the calamities. However, even his S-rank magic proves ineffective. Nonetheless, Li Zhiyou fails to disappoint and easily takes care of them. By the clothing Jin stole, Min Sung-hoon figures out that Jin is the one who attacked his fellow Cotters. Suddenly, Spider Queen attacks again, but is also taken care by one punch. Soon, Sung-yi and Min Sung-hoon get orders from Choi Sung-hyuk, a Cotter's captain, to evacuate the building as per Young Wai's plan. Min Sung-hoon accepts Choi Sung-hyuk's plan and prepares to escape with Sung-yi, leaving everyone else there to die. But Sung-yi is against this idea and tries to fight Min Sung-hoon. However, their confrontation is stopped due to Jin, who pops out of nowhere to pin Sung-hoon down. Furthermore, Spider Queen then attacks Sung-hoon and devours him. As such, Jin wants to save everyone else and orders Jimin and Sung-yi to help the civilians escape, claiming that he will follow them soon. Meanwhile, outside, Young Wai is left surprised when the civilians come running out of the store, as he ordered a barrier be put up. After hearing their pleas, he decides to enter the store and finds Spider Queen has been defeated. Furthermore, he learns that Hugo has also arrived at the spot. Suddenly, he is encountered with Jin as he sneaks up behind Young Wai, much to his shock. Outside, Sung-yi wonders if Jin really is whom he says he is. Suddenly, Hugo, revealed to be Sung-yi's father, pops up and asks what happened inside. He learned that a guy named Jin all saved everyone and killed of the Spider Queen. Suddenly, someone comes flying out the store. On the other hand, Young Wai fights with Jin and comes flying out of the building. However, he noticed is that Jin has a different appearance than the Li Zhiyou he knew. As such, he thinks that Jin strike to impersonate Li Zhiyou. However, after witnessing a glimpse of his power, he decides to get serious and powers up, stating that if he really is Li Zhiyou, he should try proving it to him. Young Wai then uses his royal skill to attack. However, Jin emerges from the attack virtually unharmed and launches a punch straight into Young Wai's face, causing him to go flying back into a wall, and making him realize that Jin really is the real Li Zhiyou. As the rest of the Cotters surround the building, they feel a faint presence of Young Wai. With the help of Hugo, they manage to locate Yang Wai and find him dead, along with a piece of paper with insults written on it stuck to his chest. Due to this incident, Hugo confirms that Jin is still alive, and he was the cause of this incident. Meanwhile, Jin is trying to get a hold of his artifacts which the saints stole from him. As such, he goes to Yang Wai's museum where he displays all of his divine artifacts. Upon notice, he finds that all of these are fake. As he continues his sightseeing, he finds his divine artifact, a toothpick, and consequently steals it. This causes swarms of guards to come, but Jin still doesn't back down and easily defeats them all. As he decides to head back, he senses the presence of Yang Wai's personal artifacts, claiming that it would be a mistake to leave empty-handed. On the other hand, Hugo also reaches the museum, however, finds it to be too late. Suddenly, he sees Jin coming out of the museum and goes to hug him. However, Jin punches him in the stomach, making Hugo realize that he really is Li Zhiyou. Suddenly, Sagittarius God appears before them, leaving even Hugo contemplating the reason why the god appeared. The Sagittarius God is introduced as Apollo, who wishes to see if Jin really is Li Zhiyou and starts pointing a flaming bow and arrow toward him. However, Hugo manages to calm Apollo down and claims that everything is okay as long as Jin is still alive. Suddenly, Jin then claims that starting from today he will start paying back not only him, also all the saints who has stolen all his possessions. As such, he punches Hugo as a punishment for leaving him in the demon tower. Suddenly, the guards perusing him finally catch up, however, as they are not capable of fighting against Jin. They call out the household god of Ares named Pishu to face Jin. Nonetheless, Jin is not concerned and uses Lime, the being from his divine toothpick artifact, to summon a sword, using which he then starts attacking the household god. He easily cuts off the god's arm, showing how powerful Jin really is. After achieving victory, Jin gets chance to take that tame household to be his own. He also picks a name for the god, calling it Piggy Bank. After this whole ordeal, Hugo takes Jin to his residence, where they sit down and discuss what really happened inside the demon tower. Jin explains on that fated day, he got stabbed in the back by the saints and got thrown into a trap. Furthermore, he adds that the administrator of the tower had the ability to revive the dead calamities, and even the worst calamity, Crimson Eye, was revived. As such, Jin spent 20 years trying to defeat all the calamities and even the administrator. However, after his victory he collapses on the ground. Moreover, he then got revived and now somehow has his current abilities. Jin also adds that the person that betrayed him knew the layout of the tower, as he knew about all the reviving calamity and the administrator. Jin also makes divine artifacts for his fight against the saints and decides to use a divine artifact called Safe of the Golden Fleece to lure out all the other saints from their territories. Moreover, he has already sent out a deceleration of war, which contains pictures of the dead Yang Wai and short message. He also reveals that Yang Wai wasn't really dead, rather Jin has sealed his soul inside of a stuffed animal. Hugo is surprised at the claim and wonders how Jin received this ability. Suddenly, Jin wants to visit the divine artifact store and manages to convince Sungyi to accompany him and introduce him to an appraiser. On the other hand, the Aquarius saint, Sophie Marty, receives news that all of Yang Wai's wealth, along with his body, is nowhere to be found. We also see the crocked and twisted personality of Sophie. Suddenly, she also receives news that the auction she was going to take part in would also host other saints, such as the Leo Saint Stephen Marker. Back in the Divine Artifact Store complex, Jin visits the store Sungyi leads him to, where his artifact is appraised very highly by an SS rank appraiser named Jin Myung, who claims that he is a disciple of Li Zhiyou. Much to Jin's shock, Jin Myung also shows Jin a divine artifact in the shape of a book, claiming that this was passed on to him when he became the disciple of Jin. However, Jin recognizes this book as his hit list, something which he thought he had forgotten somewhere, but turns out that this appraiser stole it. Meanwhile, the saint shows up and begins patiently waiting for the appraiser and decides to head in and talk to him herself. However, as soon as she lays her eyes on Jin, she gets mesmerized by his gorgeous appearance. As she gets closer to him, the powers of Jin give her the same presence of Li Zhiyou, causing her to feel extreme fear and make run out of the store at high speeds. Jin and Myung wonder why the saint left so quickly after entering, during which Jin claims that Sophie and him were old friends. Meanwhile, back to Sophie, who decides to order her followers to kill the appraiser and the man in the store, as she claims that they forced her to experience past trauma. She also hands her assistant her divine artifact in order to help them complete this task. As such, her assistant then decides to obey her command and ends up using the divine artifact given to her in order to create water replicas of all the rank cotters in the area. With their help, she enters the store, tasking the water replications to capture the Jin Myung, while she captures Jin. However, their plan turns into a complete bust as Jin is absurdly strong and easily defeats all of the water replicas. However, the assistant still doesn't give up and summons water werewolves, using the artifact Sophie gave her in order to defeat Jin. Nonetheless, even they do not prove to be of any help as Jin defeats them single-handedly. This causes the assistant to run for her life, as she claims that this isn't over yet. This ordeal also convinces Jin Myung that this guy is really the renowned Li Zhiyou. This is the scene of Cafe Eden where Li Zhiyou tells Sung Yi to eat as much as he can. While Sung Yi thinks this place is pretty expensive, Li Zhiyou shows him an insignia which can be used as a card and even they can store the skills of other gods. While Sung Yi thinks it looks like the Aquarius insignia, so it even may bite them in the rear later. Meanwhile, Divine Cardo Captain Choi Sung-hyuk enters the cafe and asks Sung Yi about the gelato here. Li Zhiyou recognizes him as Sung Yi's boss, and he asks him about the Spider Queen that Young Wai failed to take down before. Also, his job is to scout out the remarkable talent. Li Zhiyou thinks he wants to bribe him. Sung-hyuk informs them about the auction of one of Li Zhiyou's 8 divine artifacts, so he wants to discuss this while managing the auction. Li Zhiyou thinks they are going to be auctioning his belongings, while Sung-hyuk also informs that the auction is going to be held in the greatest auction house in the world, towering 16,000 feet in the sky, the wealthy fortress city. On the other side, Sophie seems nervous and is sitting in a corner while a man asks her to get lost as she is making the alcohol taste bad. Sophie thinks she has to tolerate him for some time. This is the man who rose above Li Zhiyou, and there is no safe place than by his side. His name is Leo Saint Stephen Marker. Hugo Otters enters the drachma, and she thinks this is great timing for a valuable customer like him. He asks about Jin, and he has figured out that Jin would have come there because there are many expensive divine artifacts. Sophie reaches out to him and says he can't win against time either, and he was the face of the saints for so long, but he has quite changed a lot. Hugo asks her to go away as he doesn't want to talk to her, but Sophie blackmails him by saying if he ignores her then he may lose his children just like he lost his wife. Also, what can he do when his family is falling apart due to an incomplete head? Hugo becomes furious to hear all this and asks her to go away, while Sophie tells her to hold his temper and asks him to remember the truce they agreed upon years ago. Also, he should be more aware of his status as a half-saint. Meanwhile, Li Zhiyou enters there and falls her to the ground. On inquiry, Hugo tells him that he has come here to see him as he was worried about him that he may make another mess. Li Zhiyou asks him why is this girl everywhere he goes. Li Zhiyou, the 13th saint, was considered the strongest, and Sophie hated him the most, but now she is scared of him. She still remembers his hideous face full of scars, his aggressive personality that doesn't forgive anyone who rubs him the wrong way, and his cold eyes that always look down on her. 20 years ago, one peculiar day, Li Zhiyou is rushing towards the Aquarius sanctuary and people are trying to stop him. Sophie asks him to leave, but he attacks her and pushes her back to the wall and asks her if she really wants to die, as he sent her to the rear to treat the people injured by the calamities. But she didn't go. Their arms and legs look like they have to be amputated, all because they were injured while protecting her. He drags her with him and asks her to treat the people, while she doesn't care if people die. They should be happy that they saved her for the sake of humanity. He slapped her with all of his might, and says he expected too much from a pest to understand human words. A pest needs a beating to get their shit together. He then dragged her to treat the injured until she passed out. Back to the present, Li Zhiyou has bound her with a rope. She is shouting and asking them to release her. Li Zhiyou says she has not changed at all in the last 20 years, while she distributes the acidic fluid on her hands to melt the rope that's binding her. She thinks she will escape and meet with Stephen Marker, but Li Zhiyou finds her trick from her facial expressions. But acidic fluid sticks to his hands. Sophie reveals that she has an acidic protection skill that activates whenever someone strikes her body. Now the acid magic will start to melt his body starting from his hands. She imagined Li Zhiyou's melted form in her imagination, but Li Zhiyou fully recovers himself in no time, and Sophie is shocked to see him. He again hits her and Hugo thinks he hits everyone equally whether there is a man or woman. Also, his divine status is increasing with every hit. He continues to hit her until she fainted. Her divine status has been unlocked and her current status is minus 50% while he doesn't understand it. It is revealed that divine status is a godly power for the purpose of manifesting and maintaining a divine god's power, and when it falls to 0%, the corresponding zodiac loses its power and can lead to death if it remains at 0%, which means Li Zhiyou can increase his divine status by hitting people. He feels stronger than before, and Hugo suggests he should ask her about the dagger as well. He leaves the place and asks Hugo to throw her in the trash. Meanwhile, Stephen Marker appears there and thinks Hugo has kidnapped her. He says they are not in a state to share friendly greetings, and asks him why is he here. Hugo replies he has business in the auction house, also it is none of his business. Hugo says Stephen never recognized his own strength the whole time and felt inferior to Legion, and he is still here to collect his artifacts. While Stephen becomes furious to hear this and attacks him, he warns him not to talk about Jin in front of him. He considers himself stronger than him. A boy rushes to him and tells him about Gemini guys who are buying up all of Legion's items. Meanwhile, in the auction room, all the divine artifacts are going to Gemini. They have announced the ending of the first session and that the second session will start after a short break. Legion is very happy that he got the artifacts again. Sung-Huk says he can buy as many as he wants. He asks Sung-Yi to pay the bill for the alcohol as he doesn't bring his card, while Legion informs them he has already paid the bill. But actually, he has paid by Sung-Huk's card. But he says nothing because he thinks Legion is the super rookie who has killed the Spider Queen, and if he makes good use of him then this pay will mean nothing to him. He tries to bribe him by saying he can become the successor of the saint and one of the 10 stars. Also, he will have wealth and honor. Legion says he is asking him to become the lackey of a poor divine god. Meanwhile, they have presented with the artifacts they have purchased and the letter of authenticity. Sung-Huk is shocked to know that he has bought Legion's divine relic, while it is a useful artifact near Legion. Sung-Huk thinks they shouldn't mess up with Stephen as he is obsessed with Legion's artifacts. Suddenly, someone enters the room by breaking the door. That person is Stephen, and he asks them who dares to lay his hands on his items. Legion recognizes him as he is the one who is aiming for his divine artifacts. Sung-Huk tries to apologize by saying the newcomer has made a mistake and they will return this artifact to him right away. Stephen seems to agree with this, but he thinks Sung-Huk is the one who tries to buy it, so he holds him by his head and says he cannot have possibly thought that he can get away with laying his hands on his things. Meanwhile, Legion attracts him and says he is the owner of the artifact, and if he wants it, then he will sell it to him at a premium of 200 billion. Stephen laughs at him and thinks he wants to kill himself by saying this. He pushes Sung-Huk away and comes to him. He says whenever he meets someone he takes to liking to, then he introduces himself very wildly. It will be full of sparks. Legion thinks his skills have increased a tiny bit. Also, his battle spirit can't be compared with Aries and Aquarius. He likes his temper. Stephen attacks him for his particular skill and everyone thinks he has destroyed him. But it has not had any effect on Legion, although he asks if he is trying to shake the dust off on his shoulder. Moreover, he says the skill he has made will not work for him. In past, he begged him to teach the skill to him, saying he will use it to save the people, but it looks like he has always used it to show off his power. Stephen asks him his identity, while in meantime, a woman appears there and informs them about the break has ended and they will begin highlights in just a moment. Stephen leaves by saying he will come back again and that he should take care of that pendant. Now turn to the auction. They are going to reveal the most awaited artifact, and that artifact is the legendary weapon that Stephen has seen in his dreams. Back in the past, around 20 years ago, someone is breaking the news about the island on which Calamity appeared, and also it is the 4th day since the 13th awakened Legion entered, but they are not confirmed what's happening inside since he has not come out. After some time, he came out of the Calamity and returned alive. Also, he succeeded in defeating the Calamity that everyone thought would be impossible to defeat. While other saints are getting jealous of him, at that time, Legion found a better weapon, and Stephen wants it now. He thinks this artifact can make him the strongest. The artifact is revealed by the name of Big Bone. Legion remembers this is something that he used to use before. The auction started off with $1 million, and everyone seems to want it. Legion wonders why everyone is spending so much money on this item, and Sung-Jo replies this is because it's a legendary weapon made by Legion himself. He also reveals that Stephen has been collecting Legion's artifacts from all over the world. He has overwhelming strength as a saint, so people don't try to mess with him when it comes to Legion's artifacts. Legion wonders how much will it sell for. Stephen says he will buy it for $1 billion. He has been bid an overwhelming number as no one will be able to bid something higher. And Big Bone has been sold for an unbelievable $1 billion. The Great Leo Saint, Stephen Marker, has become the new owner of the Big Bone. Suddenly, a calamity appears there and it seems like it is also searching for the Big Bone. Stephen uses the Big Bone and runs the calamity away. He thinks this is the first time he is thankful for a calamity as it allows him to experience the power of this divine artifact. But the magic tower of the teleport zone is falling apart because of this, and if all the debris hits the ground, this floating island will fall. All the disciples are using their mana to save the island, but this is so big that they can't stop it. The Sagittarius Saint, Hugo Otters, appears, and thanks to him they are saved. Meanwhile, another calamity appears there, and people are shouting for help. Hugo comes forward to help them, but the calamity is very strong. Hugo calls Legion for help, and Legion comes and saves him. Steven comes and shouts at them saying they are trying to disrupt his divine artifact experience. He asks them not come to his way. He uses the royal skill of lightning, while Legion is on the point that they cannot be destroyed by a lightning storm. He hits the Calamity with all of his might, but it has not any effect on him. Meanwhile, the Calamity attacks him and he falls to the ground. He wonders why his attack doesn't work against it. On the other hand, the second Calamity is trying to attack the people and Hugo thinks they should help the people, while Legion thinks they are the people whose minds got dominated by the Calamity's ability. And when they see they are in front of the Calamity, they feel themselves as hostages. He says they should have got to go ahead on this, and they are going to face the Calamity. Legion says they shouldn't drag this out and finish it in a jiffy. Legion and Calamity run toward each other. Meanwhile, Ho notices that the people are following him. Hugo uses the royal skill and blocks their path. He warns Calamity to put up the fight. He then attacks him with full of his might and Calamity tears him into pieces. Hugo appreciates him as he ended it in an instant. Also, the people under his control will be back soon. Suddenly, his mark starts to shine, which means he has ripped apart a Calamity with his bare hands. He has gathered divine power, and his current divine power is 81%. They also ask him if he wants to use the divine power he has charged up to use a Battle God Instinct. Battle God Instinct is a skill that can only be used after charging divine power past a certain amount. Legion thinks he should try it out, he has a chance. So he accepts it. At the same time, Steven is still shocked why the big bone is not working or if he is unable to bring out its true strength. In the meantime, Legion appears by tearing Steven's royal skill and tears the Calamity in an instant. Steven is shocked to see this as it is impossible for him. But only one person can possess such power. He recognizes him as he is Legion. Legion says he had a fun time shitting all over his name, while Steven is still in a state of shock. He says there is no way he can be Legion. Legion says he sure seems to be having a lot of fun with this big bone. He holds it in his hands and breaks it into pieces. He says he sure has been hitting him hard, but not they play fair and let him have his turn and hits him in the face. On the other side, Sophie comes unconscious and wonders why she was sleeping. She feels pain in his head. Legion drops Steven from a great height, but he says he has a strong body and he will survive one way or another. The people who were trapped but are now free. Legion orders his piggy bank to go and fetch all the usable stuff. Hugo asks him about the person who lent his cell phone to him, and he tells him about Sung Yi. Hugo thinks it seems like he is associated with Gemini, as he is strong enough to be on the level of a divine Cotter captain. He is young and he is still pretty bright, so he is worth keeping around. Sung Yi has really caught up with this walking disaster. He will make sure that he can't get involved with his children because his two kids are hardcore fans of Jin and they shouldn't find out that he is still alive. His family will be in shambles. Legion is about to call Sung Yi, but Hugo stops him and says he should be sick of those Gemini guys already, and he should not get involved with them, and they have been pissing him off as they don't like him. Moreover, those kinds of kids are not worth paying any attention to. But Sung Yi hears all their conversations because he was on call. He asks Hugo to tell him the truth when suddenly Omnificent Mud Bundle starts shouting as it gained poison resistance. Legion shouts at him as it eats some random craps it found on the ground. He asks it to spit it out. Hugo thinks it has come out from the remains of the skeletal Calamity, and things are getting dangerous. Sung Yi thinks he has seen this slime in a book and it was Legion's artifact. Also his incredible ability and rough magic power. The only person who is friendly with his friendless father and the slime that he is shaking. All the clues lead to one thing, that he is the Legion nymph. Leo Divine Cadro Captain Oliver in the headquarters says that they still haven't been able to find the Castellan after their disappearance. But the Gemini is known for their detection abilities, so pay them whatever they want and get them to find them. Also, a man reveals that they heard that the person who beat the Calamities was Legion. Come to Sophie's residence. She has made a promise to herself that he will make a lot of trouble for him. All the news channels are asking a lot of questions about her kidnapping. Meanwhile, a message appears in the sky, and this message is from Legion that he is alive. Also, he asks her to tell everyone what happens 20 years ago. Sophie is feeling helpless that what should she do, because if she tells everyone the truth then other saints will not leave her, and if she doesn't tell anything then Legion will not leave her. This is all Legion's fault. Come to Hugo's house. He is bowing arrows in his house. Legion asks him about the arrows, and he replies that they are the best and they can't even be compared to the ones that Ram Guy made. Legion wants to shoot arrows by binding his eyes. but he wants to shoot them at Hugo's target because he enjoys making fun of him. Sung Yi brings a towel and drinks for him. Hugo asks him to get some water for him too, but he replies that he can take water from the fridge. It is revealed that the sanctuary of the Serpent Bearer constellation and his private place has been formed, but as his level is low, so the space has been confined. It is the place where saints can reside and maintain their strength. Legion leaves by saying he has a lot of people to meet today. He goes to the Red Ice studio where Sung Hyuk asks him to join the Gemini while he is busy eating a lot of fried chicken. He also bribes him by saying that he can buy anything from the auction with the money that Gemini will give him. Legion seems impressed with his offer. He thinks this is kind of annoying, but actually a good chance as he has taken revenge from 3 saints. And the next one in line is that rotten little witch. He says he is ready to join Gemini's divine card, but he has one condition, that Sung Hyuk will give him his badge. Sung Hyuk says he wants that badge to be able to make use of the benefits that come with being part of Gemini's divine card. But if he will promise him future benefits, then he will give him something tangible. Legion says he can invest that much in talent, and Sung Hyuk says he wants some time to think about it. Legion leaves by saying he has another appointment. Sung Yi sits in a cafe and thinks this place is famous for its gelato, so it will be nice if Legion likes this place too. He thinks he will ask him for his sign on the dagger he repaired a while back. Li Zhiyou, who is also a second-class disciple, appears there. He tries to bully Sung Yi, while he thinks he is little older than him, so he keeps picking on him. He just wants to crush his head. He is the son of Libra Saint, so he can't do whatever he wants to do with him, and he knows this. That is why he is showing off like this. They all hold Sung Yi and force him to sit. Yoon asks him if this dagger is something that Legion has made, while Sung Yi tries to free himself but fails. Meanwhile, the divine artifact, Janice's desire, has responded to its owner being in danger, and a random skill has been activated. Legion appears from the dagger, who is also shocked because he was at a chicken place, but it looks like the consumable summon skill he left in the dagger was activated. He finds out that Yoon was trying to threaten Sung Yi, and he asks them how dare they touch their nephew. The chicken place right before Legion was summoned, where Sung Hyuk agrees to hand over his badge to Legion and asks him to sign up the agreement. Come to Cafe Eden, where Legion beats all of them up, while Yoon is trying to say he is the son of Libra Saint, but he is not listening. Yoon uses his magic and makes a Polaris bull, and people are getting scared as he uses magic in the public area. Legion says he is so noisy, and he thought he had some amazing skill up their sleeve, but he will not even be able to light a briquette with these flames. He surpasses the opponent's magic and acquired data. Yoon is so shocked to see this. Legion warns him he will burn him in real if he touches Sung Yi one more time. He says to Sung Yi that if he ever meets any thugs like them, then he should call him, as his uncle got his back. Meanwhile, Nuna, Sung Yi's sister, appears there, and he asks him about Legion as he is the protagonist of that movie they had watched again and again. Nuna is surprised and doesn't trust his brother as he is way too handsome 20 years ago. His face was full of scars, and he has been in the Demon Tower for 20 years, so she thought he would be in an even worse state. She introduces herself as Chen Yuha and thanks him for helping Sung Yi. She also asks Legion for a favor when suddenly a calamity appears there. She says she will talk to them after killing the calamity. They both are unable to understand what is she talking about. Sung Yi says her switch is flipped due to Legion. There are a lot of calamities, and Yuha thinks she has to finish this quickly and proposes Legion as these calamities keep getting in her way. She is fighting with them bravely. Legion decided to take a look as he was worried, but now he is satisfied to see her. He also thinks that she has a better sense of battle than Hugo. Legion asks Calamity why all of them are playing with fire today, but this is a good chance for him as he needs a blast furnace to create more divine artifacts. Legion asks both of them to leave this Calamity to him and can keep the surroundings safe. The Calamity binds Legion with a rope and asks him to struggle more, as that makes it more worthwhile to train him. He untied himself. Meanwhile, the Calamity emits a lot of fire from its mouth. Luna thinks Legion is definitely strong. However, his opponent is the fantasy race, the most dangerous among the Calamities. Also, he is above red rank, so Legion will have a hard time. She thinks she should help him. Sung Yi tries to stop her, but she doesn't. The Calamity attacks him with fire, but he survives. He has summoned a production hammer, which is a flame that can be used in the creation workshop, has been detected, and he chooses his subject to strengthen fire. Zephyr flings the Calamity with his hand and falls it to the ground. He also warns him that he will kill him if he again touches Yuha. The fantasy race has been defeated badly. Legion uses fire-touching vinyl gloves, and he thinks it is more useful than his expectations, and blocked her hellbound with a mere glove. He says she will pay the price for lighting the city on fire by being the fire in his smithy for the rest of her life. At last, he takes his purification punch and put it on the face of the Calamity, and it has died, by which the Calamity has announced his surrender. Also, Hell Lizard has become his salves. Legion wonders what should be its name and gives some suggestions like a torch, burner, etc., from which Hell Lizard has chosen a torch for itself. Yua comes to him and asks him if he didn't sacrifice himself on his own accord in the demon tower, as she always has doubts about it. The other saints have told that he sacrificed himself for the sake of humanity, but she thinks it is strange that in the battle against the Crimson Eye that could eradicate humanity, Legion, who was the strongest among the saints, would be the only one to die. She concludes that he was not sacrificed, but he has done it with some sort of malicious intent. He appreciates her intelligence and reveals that he was betrayed 20 years ago by one of the 12 saints that went to subjugate the Crimson Eye with him, and the reason was that he excelled more than them. Also, he had killed the Crimson Eye by himself, and this was enough reason for them to kill him. Sung Yi and Yuha begin to cry to hear all this. He consoles them both and says he will be paying this debt back 1,000,000-fold. He takes out his phone and checks for the last thing scheduled for the day. Back to Sophie has announced a press conference to reveal the truth from 20 years ago. Everyone wonders what is she going to say. Or maybe this is something related to the rumors of Legion's return. Meanwhile, Sophie is still nervous as she can't run away because she has Legion's artifact around her neck and she doesn't know what will this artifact do to her. She has no choice but to do as he says to stay alive. She starts her speech and asks the people to remember the Demon Tower incident 20 years ago, and reveals that the hero who killed the Crimson Eye was Legion and the saints have been lying all the time. She also reveals that Legion is alive when suddenly, Jean-Louis Morin appears there. He asks her to shut her mouth as to what is she saying with the mic on, as she just had to strut around as the saintess, but who allows her to do something like that? He also warns her to stay quiet. He announces to the reporters that it seems Sophie is currently blackmailed and has given a false statement. He apologizes to the press and ends the press conference. The reporters ask him a lot of questions about Legion, which makes him angry, and he takes out the insect worm to kill him, while Legion appears there and kicks his face, and he asks him why he has ended the press conference. He introduces himself to the reporters as Legion, while Jean says he is kind of a scam and he is planning something. He again beats him. Sophie thinks she should run away, but Legion catches her and asks her to finish telling the truth. Suddenly, Jean turns into a demon and says he wants to give a nice welcome to Legion. Come to the Sagittarius Sanctuary, Hugo's house. Hugo's wife is preparing dinner for all of them, while Hugo is watching TV when he hears the news of Sophie Marty's press conference, and the things there are absolutely chaotic. The reporter reveals that in the middle of the conference, a man claiming himself Legion has intruded, and he is currently in a serious battle with Cancer Saint Jean. She also reveals that skills of Jean have burst out, and Hugo is in a state of shock to hear all this. Come back to their fight. Jean is constantly attacking Legion, but he says that these kinds of weak attacks have no work on him. He stops his attack with his dagger. Jean says he was just practicing acrobatics for the past 20 years and again attacks him, which is again defeated by Legion. He asks him if is this all he has gotten, and that he had just practiced cloning for the past 20 years. The blood starts to burst out from the mouths and eyes of the people. Jean has decided that currently, it is more worthwhile to take care of him using this crowd to his advantage. Legion asks if he was the person who stabbed him in the tower, but he makes it fun that he is still obsessed with finding the culprit. Also, the hero who saved the world holds such a trivial grudge. People think him a thug on the street rather than a saint. He also reveals that he has created these clones by gathering the life force of the journalists here, and if he carelessly takes out any clone, their life force will dissipate, and there will be no guarantee for their lives. He makes countless copies and attacks Legion with all his might, but there was a tailbot Legion. Legion informs him that this is a new skill he got at Drachma and hits him. He hits his one copy because it is also the part of him, and he just drowns his one part. The other parts will go to take care of him. He uses his jackpot, and with this not even the Gemini constellation will be able to find the core with their sensing abilities and prison his soul. After that, people come to their senses and they don't understand what happened to them as they don't remember anything. Jean asks him what happened to him in the tower as he can feel the might of a god coming from him. Moreover, he still has cards left to play. He maybe ends up causing some trouble for him. Legion thinks considering his nature, there is no chance that he will back off quietly. Meanwhile, Hugo starts to call him and asks him to get out of the place as fast as he can. He informs him that a bunch of missiles is going to fall where he is standing. After Legion's disappearance, Capricorn and Gemini work together to create a decisive catastrophe-class weapon, and the catastrophes that humanity couldn't handle began to appear. It became humanity's ace in the hole, burning catastrophes to ashes from its orbit. Jean had made it so that missiles will automatically fire if his vital signals ever cut out. Hugo asks him to not take it easy and he has to get out of there. But Legion says running away will not do anything as it will probably erase several cities. He hits upon an idea to see Sophie. Meanwhile, the missiles are targeting the location and they warn everyone to flee to the nearby shelter, as this is not a drill. People wonder why is a catastrophe class weapon being fired. Legion activates the skill Float and Divine and takes Sophie with him and they will teleport to the front of the Mormont missile. He asks her if she can turn anything to liquid if she puts her mind to hit, so he tells her to just melt away that missile. While Sophie says she can't do that and they are just going to hit the missile. Legion says if she can't do that then all of them are going to die. Sophie activates her luck boost and turns fire into fragments, while Legion says she puts up a good defense but she didn't finish things up properly. If these fragments fall they will make a mess on the surface. He remembers Hugo told him that the missile was created by Gemini, and he plans to give Sophie a grand greeting. He sent all the fragments to Yin and Yang Palace and right now the palace is being assaulted with the fragments of the Mormont missile. At Qingguahi President's office, they learned about Legion, who also crashed Sophie's press conference, took down Jean, and blocked a missile that had been fired at Korea. Meanwhile, Legion enters, vigorously breaking the door and telling them he is there to get back his money. He heard that they have the profits from selling his belongings. Also, he tries to access his bank account with Hugo's authority, but it wouldn't let him in at all. They inform him that they have put his belongings to a more trustworthy person than Hugo Nim, and he punches the face of the man because they have picked up the purple witch. He beats all of them up. He says it is fine for him to treat him like shit because he is his slave, but how dare they treat him like that. He now shouts at Hugo why he is living with such treatment even though he is a naturalized citizen. He warns them to return his money, otherwise he will tear this place apart. Meanwhile, Gemini Saint enters there and says that they already own his bank account so he should leave it. Also, they have used his assets to repair the palace of Yin and Yang, as he is the one who has sent the missile's fragments to the palace. Because of that, the palace has turned into a wasteland and it was very serious damage. Legion asks her about her identity, but she uses Gemini's magic power as trash about and starts to communicate with a powerful spirit. And Fairy Queen Raylequin has responded to the spirit's invocation. Gemini Saint says this is a spirit second only to the celestial bodies, the Fairy Queen, and Legion can't take over her. Legion holds her and throws her away and Gemini's magic power is fading. The Fairy Queen is returned to the place where she comes from. He has succeeded in capturing the Fairy Queen. As the Gemini Saint has lost her consciousness, their magic control has been released, and the transformation of Pisces has been lifted, and it is revealed that she is not a Gemini Saint. Legion says she thought she can win because she had the Fairy Queen on her side, and now he again asks them to give his money back. He got all his assets back, but Hugo thinks something is strange. He says why didn't the real Haze appear? Because she is someone who used meteors in the middle of town if she is in a bad mood. Legion says he wrecked up the palace and she doesn't appear yet. He has an idea about the place where she can be and asks Hugo to visit that place. They are all sitting at Chen Sung-yi's house and eating food, while he has sent Hugo to do something for him. Now, they are going to start interrogating the Fairy Queen. Legion asks her to answer everything he asks her, and he opens the book that can hold anything, and also it can transform and store the target as text. The Fairy Queen reveals that it's not that she hasn't appeared, it's that she can't appear. Legion says that means she has trapped somewhere, and that's got to be right there in Sung-yi's house. He gives her a chance to tell where is she exactly. She pointed towards a place and says she is over there, and that is a broken angel sculpture. Legion says he knew it because he can smell that nasty stench wafting in the air. He activates his 13th sense by which he can interfere with the spiritual world. Gemini Saint comes outside and asks the Fairy Queen why she told him about her. She comes out in her spiritual state, and she got caught by the one guy but she can't afford to be caught. She thinks about the day when the demon tower collapsed. She felt a strange energy and she came to know that Legion is alive. His coming back is a surprise, but the place he is going to is the house of Sun-yi. This was a good opportunity for her because that place is already her under control. She teleported herself into a sculpture and things took a turn for the worse because the sculpture broke and she was trapped in the sculpture. Legion asks how should he bully her so that everyone will know that he did a good job at it. Gemini Saint asks Raylequin to do something and to escape from a display case, while she replies he can't get out because getting out will only lead to being caught by Legion. She asks her student Sung-yi to attack Legion. He refused by saying that he doesn't want to fight with Legion. Also, he is affiliated with Gemini. Bijin Samchan is his hero. He says he is going to leave Gemini and throws his badge. Suddenly an earthquake comes as this is the divine god's punishment. Gemini's divine god's magic power is pressing down upon Chen Sungyi, and Saintess asks him to beg for forgiveness, and he will be forgiven. She also says Li Zhiyou is a wicked and cruel man, and he is not someone he should idolize or follow. Sungyi tells her not to dare look down on Li Zhiyou. In response to disciple Sungyi's remarks, the punishment has been increased to the limit. She has gathered her magic power while telling Sungyi to disappear along with his foolish hero. Come to the beginning palace of Yin and Yang. There is fire everywhere and they are trying to get over it. The fire is under control now, and they ask to get all the people who can use water attribute magic over there, but their magic skills are not working. All the people are unable to gather magic and there seem some problems, but they cannot sense any magic power. Their captain asks them to contact disciples from the other districts, but they can't use telepathy or teleportation as the teleportation gateway has disappeared entirely. The captain asks about the disciples who went to face the calamities, but they are unable to contact them because they are in a calamity district. It's as if Gemini's magic power has just vanished in its entirety. Come to Sungyi's house, they are all shocked to see that Gemini's divine god's magic power has vanished. Li Zhiyou is happy that he is fine now. He also thanks Sungyi for believing in him until the end. While Gemini's saint is still in a state of shock as why divine god's power has completely faded away from her. The divine gods expend a large number of resources and expose themselves to great risk when they attempt to involve themselves with this reality. That is why the divine gods provide a proxy, the saint, as their strength. The saint then distributes that strength among their disciples. In short, we can say that the divine god is the power plant and the saint is the transformer and transmission tower, and the disciples are electrical outlets and cords. But the fact is that this power vanished in an instant. Li Zhiyou asks the saint how it feels to have become powerless. Suddenly, a tornado appears in the sky and it is revealed that the Gemini divine god has lost their saint and disciples and has become furious, and they will face the risks and exercise their influence directly. Li Zhiyou says this Su is one flashy entrance of divine god, and Gemini divine god Freja appears there. The divine god attacks, but the fragment of Cancer's core is sucking in the divine god's power. Gemini's divine god is astonished at the sight of a fragment of another divine god. Li Zhiyou says it is a shame that he doesn't have heavenly punishment with him. If he had heavenly with him, he could have just blown them all away, god or whatever else. He utilized the divine power he has accumulated and activated and hits Gemini's divine god, and it was super effective. Gemini's divine god is writhing in pain and disgrace. Everyone is shocked to see that he has injured a divine god, while Gemini's divine god Freja has lost all reason. She is attempting to gather together all of her power and descend into this world, when suddenly Sagittarius divine god appears and asks Freja to stop her invasion right now because going any further is against the rules. He asks her to go back as divine gods cannot interfere with this world in their true forms. Freja has replied that the Sagittarius divine god whom she loathes ought not to get in her way. Moreover, she ridicules him asking that the deteriorated divine god and saint can do this. Hugo thinks that Sagittarius cannot handle her with pure strength alone. The other gods are imposing sanctions for breaking the rules. In order to interfere with Earth any further, a large number of abilities, including faith and experience, must be paid, and if the interference is continued, she maybe faces the greatest amount of hostility from other divine gods. Hugo says it seems that the other divine gods have no intention to sit idly by. Gemini divine god is gritting her teeth and exclaims that she will never forget what happened on this day, while Li Zhiyou is making fun of her and asks her to bring his older brother next time, and she leaves. Li Zhiyou appreciates Hugo to bring the divine god and says he will completely crush Freja and her older brother. The spirit affiliated with Gemini has offered them Hei's body. He holds her neck and says her divine god has bounced and now she is completely abandoned, so it will be better for her to answer that if she is the one who stabbed him in the demon tower, while she replies that she doesn't know who stabbed her. He tortures her and she says it may be Virgo who stabbed him. Li Zhiyou says if she said this earlier then she wouldn't have had to endure such pain, and he ended up giving Raylequin her body. Raylequin requests him to give her the soul registers as she will go over all the souls and raise them to SS rank, and he allows her to do so. He has caught many souls while Hayes is continuously requesting him to let her out. Li Zhiyou and Hugo have finally joined Li Zhiyou's household, and all the household gods there seem to be very happy as Li Zhiyou turned to face them. Also, his countenance is a sight to behold. Hugo says this is the first time he is seeing something like this, and all of them consider him Li Zhiyou's errand boy and ask him not to butt. Li Zhiyou clears them that he is not an errand boy, but he is a slave. Now they ask Hugo how dare a slave stand in front of Legion. He asks them why did they abandon Gemini's divine god and come here. They reply they couldn't stand Gemini's divine god tyranny. Moreover, other households' gods and their commander also wish to join Legion household. It is revealed that currently, because of the unknown civilization that fuels the calamities, humanity has lost over half of the world. At a glance, it looks like the Saints and the Calamities are doing a tough balance, but in reality, they are at a spot where they can't take back the amount of land that has already been taken by the unknown civilization. Legion thinks he should go and check out things by himself. All of them swear their lives and allegiances to Legion. Meanwhile, Yua comes there and says he really did a good job proposing to Legion. Hugo asks him what is she saying, as proposing means he will be Legion's father-in-law. Hugo becomes furious to hear this and Legion asks him to calm down. He uses his power stealth and going to attack Legion. He shoots many arrows at him while Legion catches all of them and asks him if is he really going to annoy him to death. Sung Yi and Yua are also trying to stop as he can't win against Legion. Legion asks him why did he get all riled up over some kids babbling around. He is not the kind of guy who will go after his friend's daughter. Meanwhile, Sung Yi and Yua come there and bring coffee and Hugo's favorite cake. Hugo asks Yua why doesn't his cake has a strawberry, but she replies she gave it to Legion. On the other side, the sea near the Philippines capital, Manila, there are a lot of people who are going to face the calamity under the sea. Their captain is trying to encourage them by saying they will show the world that humanity will make yet another leap forward. Yua is thinking that she wants to go home as she wants to see Legion. While Hugo is looking at his house's condition meanwhile, his secretary Yoon arrives and asks her about the condition of the house. Hugo forbids her to ask anything. Yoon has a box in her hands. On inquiry she says it was lying in front of the door so she brought it in. They hear a voice inside the box that asks them about Legion. While Legion is thinking that he has lost the hammer that grants achievements, and he has no clue that where that hammer could have gone during the past 20 years, and he needs a decent weapon before the fight with Virgo. On the other side, the thing inside the box introduces itself to be Sergeyevich. Hugo says this is something Yang Wei can do. Meanwhile, Legion appears there and calls Sergeyevich an old goat, and it greets Legion. He is the saint of Capricorn and similarly to Legion, he specializes in the production. After Legion's disappearance, there has not been a single prominent weapon in the world that has not passed through his hands, and now he has come to apologize for the past events. But Legion strikes his head with a hammer, while on the other side, the Celestial Lord thinks he is always very short-tempered. It is revealed that the massive calamity that Legion eradicated 20 years ago, 1,000 arms, another 1,000 arms that appear to be of the same specie have appeared in the seas near Manila. The Capricorn Saint brings out his hammer that grants achievements and Legion recognizes that this is his hammer. He says he is going to punish that man. The people notice that something is hanging from the end of the 1,000 arms tentacles, and that is Stephen Marker who is trying to snatch his big bone from the 1,000 arms. He is fighting with a calamity rank monster over the big bone. If he loses $1 billion, it will be no surprise if he went crazy. The captain is asking him to come down. All the Leo use the potion that Capricorn gave them to strengthen their physical abilities, while Pisces use spells to improve water maneuvers. Aquarius is focusing on giving battle and survival-oriented buffs, and Taurus stand by in a defensive formation in the rear, just in case anyone needs them. Also to stop the calamity rank monster if it comes on land. First, all Leo is going to attack. They activate their beastification skill, and they have gained the power of a beast. Meanwhile, Yua activates the Divine Cotter Alliance skills. The night parade of 100 beasts works and they try to tear the calamity into pieces, but Steven is trying to stop them, saying they should not come forward until he takes the big bone. The beast and Steven are fighting each other as the beast is saying to leave the bone while Steven says there is a need for a little more effort, and the bone will be out. Other people think if they keep on fighting, all the people are going to die. Yua doesn't want to do anything to save Steven because they are too pathetic. She herself is going to attack the calamity. Meanwhile, Steven succeeded to get the big bone. Yua crossed the sea and tore through the thick tentacles of the calamity rank monster with a single leap. Everyone is very happy that the Celestial Lord of Leo has been saved, and now they will go and deal with the calamity monster. They finally succeed to get over the calamity, but all of a sudden, the sea level starts to increase. The Taurus disciples are using the wall formation, but a volcano erupts the wall. That volcano is actually outrageous, which is also 10,000 arms and the risk rating is red. Sergeyevich thinks they can't do anything if a monster like that appears. This was all his planning as he set up Mormont and laid them down in the water. Meanwhile, Legion appears there and says the guys in the sea are floundering about, unable to deal with the octopus swarm, and it was too much for him to use a bomb to blow them up alongside the Calamity rank monster. Also, he will teach him how to make octopus sashimi. Everyone fights with all their might against the 1,000 arms and no longer has much strength left. Yua uses the Godspeed skill. She has watched Jin's 1,000 arm strategy video so many times and she has memorized it. In the past, Legion has been subjected to numerous disasters, and among them, one of them was recorded. Even the disciples who were jealous of him used the recording like a Bible, and that recording is called Legion's 1,000 arm strategy. And now, Yua is trying to follow his technique. She is cutting the tentacles that can't be ignored in one strike. She pierces through the middle of its forehead like a skewer. Then she hits it with the Blazing Lotus, but it blocked that attack so easily and attacks Yua back, but Celestial Lord saves her. The captain asks everyone to keep fighting. While Yua thinks about what would Legion do if it were him, he would have flown around with his great sword. Suddenly, she sees Legion flying around with his sword, who is piercing the tentacles of 1,000 arms. He took down the 1,000 arm in an instant. Everyone is shocked to see him as he is incredible. He reaches down the sea and they ask him what is he doing here. He replies he has just come there to show them how to fight with an octopus as they are struggling so badly. While they say he just came simply and took the last hit, they could have easily defeated 1,000 arms by themselves. Meanwhile, the octopus catches him in his hand, and all of them now wonder how to defeat that monster. Legion uses the Lotus Disaster skill and hits the Calamity. Legion says it is just an octopus, no matter if it is 1,000 or 10,000 arms. Also, he has torn the Calamity into bite-sized pieces for all of them so they can eat them up. Everyone is shocked to see that Legion has defeated the monster alone, which means what they have heard about him was not just rumors. The reporter reports the moment that will be on everyone's lips for a long time has just occurred. The hero that returned, Legion, has defeated the then 1,000 arms. He gets a holy book that records how he gains strength, which means that if he lets his disciples read this, he will gain more strength. He tells Yua that he broke her spear while he was using it, but he will make a new weapon for her, and she becomes very happy to know this. Meanwhile, Steven appears there and asks Legion to make a new weapon for him also, as he broke his big bone that he bought. Legion shouts at him when suddenly they hear an explosion. Steven thinks he creates an explosion by just shouting, while Legion clears that it was not him, and they all are unable to understand what has happened. The Leo Constellation troops have gone berserk. Yua says that Leo Constellation combat troops are attacking Taurus troops, but what is that explosion? Sergeyevich appears there and reveals that those are the beautiful flashes of the guinea pigs that he has prepared. But he is a little disappointed because the explosions are weak due to them being small. Legion asks him what he has done to Lime. Also, he has caused the explosions where Steven's subordinates are fighting. Sergeyevich also reveals that the explosion is just the signal of the main event. He releases a lot of beasts on them. Sergeyevich says Legion went on a rampage excitedly to deal with the calamities, but now he will no longer have the strength to resist. It's time for his checkmate. He feels very happy to see him on the ground, as he never thought he will feel so good to take him down. Steven shouts at him about what has he done to his subordinates and that they are not listening to his orders. He reveals that this is the result of the potion they all drink, but Yua and Steven didn't drink it, so they are not affected. He exclaims that the potion that his subordinates drank is just responding excitedly to his masterpiece Mormont, and in their current state they will only listen to instructions that are given through his flute. Also, he asks Steven to not get angry, and if he wants them to return to normal then he has to hear him out to the end. He shows him Legion's sword and asks him to use that sword to kill Legion. Steven asks him why is he trying to get rid of him and why should he follow his orders, while Sergeyevich replies he has not any other choice as he will not return his subordinates to a normal state. Moreover, he says they have something in common, and that is their inferiority complex in regard to Legion, as his obsession with Legion's weapon is evidence of his struggle to overcome his inferiority complex towards Legion. Steven felt the gap in strength between him and Legion, while Steven felt the gap in creation ability between Legion and him, and now this is the opportunity of a lifetime. He assures him that he will back him up and will make him the strongest weapon that has ever existed before. He asks him to pick up the sword and get rid of Legion. Yua tries to stop Steven by saying this is a trick and Sergeyevich is not a trustworthy person. Steven picks up the sword and goes to Legion, but he attacks Sergeyevich instead of Legion and says he will not listen to the person who turned his brothers into the state they are right now. Moreover, he has resolved himself to overcome Legion and he has no time to waste on feeling inferior to him. Also, he doesn't have the slightest intention to take Legion's place by getting rid of him with such tactics. Sergeyevich launches his missiles and says Almighty Leo is nothing in front of his masterpiece. But Steven stops his missiles and falls him to the ground. He asks him to stop hiding behind his armor and get out of it. Legion asks when are they going to stop fighting. They are shocked to see how he is here. He kicks out Steven and says he has a lot of questions for Sergeyevich. 20 years ago, it was something that happened before the Demon Tower's raid. Jean says that Legion will die in the Demon Tower, while Sergeyevich says it is just the prophecy that Hugo received from the Divine God. But he is making a plan that will make it a reality. Legion asks him to not go into those stupid screens and tell him the truth that who tried to kill him. Sergeyevich says he will tell him the truth, but in return, he must guarantee his safety. But Legion holds him from his mouth and says he still doesn't understand what is happening around here, as this doesn't look like a negotiation he has a hand in. Moreover, if he wastes his time by spouting nonsense again, he will rip out everything from his tongue to his jaw. He tells him the name of Virgo. It's in line with what that witch said. Legion thinks if Virgo is really behind this, then he has to meet Jin Myung again, as he has to hear about the investigation results of the dagger that stabbed him. He now asks him about the hammer that grants achievements and gets it back. Capricorn is shuddering in regret and anger due to the loss of the hammer. He calls out 3 brothers and asks them to bring him into their dimension, and if he resists them, feel free to cut off some limbs. Sergeyevich is shocked to see that Legion is controlling the household gods. He now comes to know that Legion is not a saint but a new constellation divine. On the other side, there is the red zone in the Europe-Humanity Alliance protected dome outskirts. Virgo Captain Zane is reporting that the stench is really intense there. It wouldn't be strange if a disaster suddenly appears there. Also, he must not let down his guards. Meanwhile, his army is discussing Legion and how he has defeated the octopus disaster in the Philippines. Also, those who participated in the subjugation officially basically didn't do much in the end. Their captain warns them to not keep chit-chatting in the middle of the mission. It is hard for them to search because of the thick crimson fog, but they should not get distracted. Suddenly, they hear someone's voice who is shouting for help. The captain is going to that side and commands everyone to follow him. The captain feels that the screams seem to be coming from all over the downtown area, and it feels like they are being repeated like a machine. He orders everyone to stop, but there's no one. He calls everyone, but there is no reply from the other side. He hears a voice from behind that asks him to help, and that sound slowly converts into bushes that hold him. Those bushes are actually the calamities that ate everyone come to the Sagittarius Sanctuary, Hugo's house. It's been a few days since Legion defeated the 10,000 arms and 1,000 arms, and every newspaper is filled with Legion's achievements. He says what is so great about killing a few octopuses, but now he has to take care of the piled up work. He receives a call from Jin Myung. On the other side, Sung Yi sees a nightmare in which he is crying for help, and there is someone who is asking him to wait for his father. When he gets up, Hugo asks him if he is alright. He thinks he is just restless as they are going to visit their mom and he didn't sleep well, while Yuha thinks these are the effects left over from the previous divine punishment. She gives him the birthday present, and she bought him a divine artifact that stores Gemini's magic power. Sung Yi likes the gift very much. Their mother is in the state of coma and Yuha is telling her about Legion. Meanwhile, Hugo receives a phone call that informs him that the Europe Alliance countries are looking for him. He inquires if there is Virgo near the eastern region, but it is revealed that the Virgo has already given up on exterminating the disaster. Hugo claims that this is the disaster that appeared in Korea 10 years ago, and destroyed the whole airport. The name of the disaster is Blood Fog, and he has appeared again. Now come towards the Europe Alliance country, Virgo jurisdiction, Belgium. It is raining and Legion thinks why does it have to rain today when he has an appointment. He texts a message to Sung Yi and asks him if he wants to become his disciple, but he replies that he is not able to do that. He thought that Sung Yi would definitely become his disciple, but he refused. Also, Yeren tells him about his birthday, and she also reveals that he doesn't care about his birthday. He thinks there must be something that happened on his birthday. Meanwhile, Jin Myung reaches there. Legion asks him as the country is under the influence of Virgo, but how can there only be things that are related to Virgo? Jin Myung replies this is because Europe has always been heavily influenced by religions. Legion notices that his faith level has weakened a lot, and he is right that his faith level has a weekend because he feels betrayed by his divine cotter. Jin Myung tells her about the dagger that stabbed him 20 years ago. He reveals that it was filled with death energy because of evil power. Also, the information about the dagger has been destroyed, but he was able to read a part of the dagger's memories. The result of the investigation reveals that the culprit who stabbed him in the Demon Tower is the Saint of Virgo whom he serves, Kevin Ajar. Legion comes back to Hugo's house and thinks about Sung Yi, who rejected his offer, but is still with Gemini even after the incident of punishment. He is sure that there must be a reason for this. He asks Railquin to find out why Sung Yi is with Gemini and what happened to him in the past, and also to find out what a secretary does in the Divine Cotter. Railquin starts by looking into Sung Yi first when Sung Yi approaches there and asks her for a favor. He asks him to help him open the passageway in Gemini's magic library that leads to the secret library. Gemini's magic library is a place where information on the best magics in the world, including Gemini's, are kept. And a secret library is a place where only the highest ranked disciples are allowed to visit, as there exists forbidden grimoires. Sung Yi is unable to enter the library because he previously threw away his disciple badge, but he also can't enter the secret library because he isn't a ranked disciple. But now he wants help from Railquin. It is not hard for her to let him into the magic library, but a secret library is a place where there are tons of secret, dangerous, and forbidden grimoires, but she needs to know what he is trying to find in there and why is he going there. Sung Yi reveals that he wants to bring the spirit invocation skill that allows him to summon beings from the other world. Come to Li Zhiyou has checked the records from the past few years, and the daggers that are of a similar type as this dagger had appeared in the auction from time to time. Its appraisal is done by his predecessor. It seems he might have felt the ominous energy from the dagger and tried to trace its origin but couldn't. This means the dagger has come from Virgo. Moreover, Jin Myung reveals that his predecessor was suddenly murdered while he was in the midst of tracing the dagger's origin. He was stabbed with the dagger that he was investigating. Legion thinks first he needs to clear the trial of strength, which has a limit. He will deal with Virgo after that. He is sitting in a station and the train arrives and elite troops of Hugo Otters are here. Come to the eastern side where the troops are taking care of a small disaster in the area. The roots are making it so hard to walk. Legion asks them why they are here, and the troop tells him that this is because of a request that Sagittarius received recently. Also, they receive a commission to take care of the disaster with a handle of elites. They are basically like merchants right now. They have accepted this commission because there is a special circumstance regarding the disaster this time. There is a monster that coveted Legion's god's power, Blood Fog. This is a scene of the Europe Alliance Government Assembly Disaster Countermeasures Headquarters. A man is reporting about the blood fog that exudes a crimson fog and devours the soul and vitality of living creatures near it, and it had appeared in the Europe Alliance countries 10 years ago. Hugo asks Virgo why Kevin Ajar and the Celestial Lord not doing anything about this, and they reply that Virgo has already made their move. They have mobilized high-ranking divine cotters and numerous troops several times, but they have all been annihilated. Moreover, the Virgo Celestial Lord is now out dealing with a similar ranked disaster in the Northern Sea, and now it is quite hard for him to return quickly to the sanctuary from where he is currently. They have chosen Sagittarius because they are teamed up with Legion, and they are deeply impressed by what Legion did in the Philippines. Hugo thinks he is lying because the proud and arrogant Kevin Ajar would rather die than allow outsiders to step into his territory for such a reason. It is just that the Virgo is trying to make use of the blood fog to get rid of them and Legion. Meanwhile, Kevin Ajar knows that Hugo Otters will not reject this because he lost his wife due to a blood fog. She was trying to protect Sung Yi from the blood fog, but she and the first disciple died 10 years ago when the blood fog swallowed Yiwon. The first disciple, Hugo's wife, ran to save him. She asks him to hide inside the car until his father arrives. After some time, Hugo reaches there and sees that the people it killed are within the huge tree on its back, and Jiwoo is also stuck in it. He thinks he can save her by forcefully pulling her out, and he was trying to pull her out when a lot of spirits came to him and they were shouting for help. The monster catches him too and says he has the power of a god and his power looks delicious to him. Suddenly, Hayes came there and she has taken out the people who were stuck in the tree with her magic. All the other saints also reach there, and Hugo knows they are only here because they don't want the disaster to invade their territories too. They all attack the disaster together, but it devours their attacks, and its injuries are regenerating too. Libra Saint Giselle Lawrence reaches there and says saints like them shouldn't be frustrated by that disaster so easily. She reveals that they can't defeat its attacks as it can steal their powers like how it did to Hugo. The only way to get rid of it is teleportation. She asks Hayes to do it and send him underground or into boiling lava. But if Hayes teleports it, then it will appear again. While Hugo says they need to defeat it to get the souls of the people he devoured, and there can be more people whose bodies are stuck inside. But Hayes uses the skill of teleport and teleports it. On that day, everyone criticized Hugo, and only the saints who sent the disaster flying to an unknown place were praised. Hugo was harshly criticized by the citizens because they think he handled the situation inadequately. There were rumors that the victims have been sent to a hospital under Scorpio. Hugo asks about Yuan, and it is revealed that they found his body much later, and he is transported to the hospital. He orders moving all the patients to ICU, and he is thankful to Haley, who allows them to use the hospital. On the other hand, Sung-yi made himself responsible for all of this, as he thinks if they left the airport immediately, then Yuan and his mother would be fine. Hugo says he should have told Sung-yi that it was not his fault, but he doesn't want to show him his broken side. Back to the present, Hugo says as the blood fog has appeared again, they need to resolve the old debt. He will destroy it once and for all this time. Raylequin calls Legion and informs him that she had just finished talking to Sung-yi and wants to update him about the things she has found about him. On the other hand, Sung-yi has entered the secret magic library. He wants to find the spirit invocation skill that will be able to summon other world beings, and this is the reason why he still doesn't quit Gemini, because he has not learned it yet. With the help of this skill, he will be able to summon a human soul, and he wants to summon his mother's and uncle's soul as well as other people who got sacrificed on that day. He opened the magic book. Meanwhile, Yun-Shiwu enters the library and snatches the book from him. Sung-yi asks him to give the book back to him, but he makes a lot of copies of the book and asks him to choose the book. Sung-yi becomes furious about this. Yun says he is acting like this because he has Legion's back. On the other side, Legion advises Hugo to calm down as he is using too much power, and allow enough anger for him to become stronger. It is revenge time after 10 years, so he should make sure to brace themselves. The disaster appears from within the dome. Legion says this is not a small fry disaster. On the other side, Yun-Shiwu tells Sung-yi that his father and uncle are about to get ripped apart, and Sung-yi sees blood fog in his locket. On the other hand, the blood fog tells Legion that it will devour his power while he thinks it has big dreams. The blood fog eats up Legion's leg and he activates the super regeneration skill, and his wounds heal. He summons his hammer and says it has eaten up the things that it is not supposed to be eating. But today he will rip apart his stomach. He attacks it with his hammer and strikes its head. Meanwhile, Hugo commands his troops to prepare a second round of arrows and attack it. The blood fog sighs with pain. Legion starts to cut its roots. Finally, they succeed in defeating the blood fog. But Hugo thinks something is off, as there is no way this would end so easily. The strange phenomenon that appears because of the disaster has not disappeared as well. It is still too early to think that this is over. Hugo was right, as the blood fog starts to regenerate itself, and the dome is also being eroded by the fog. It used the plant roots that were underground to indirectly erode the dome. Legion orders everyone to raise their bows again, while the blood fog says it is hungry and needs more energy. Next part, please like and subscribe. Most of you guys are watching without subscribing, so please subscribe. It will motivate me to make more new content.